Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida. And today we have a question from OKKHM Joe, hereinafter referred to simply as Joe. And Joe writes to ask a question about the genius Loci, that is to say the spirit of place, the unique spirit that inhabits a given place that can be communicated with and worked with. And Joe's question is, what does it mean when there does not seem to be a genius Loci, when it seems as if whatever spirit was present in the land is gone? And he's referring about a particular home. And my answer to this is rather complicated because there are a number of different possibilities. The first thing I would say is that the genius Loci cannot by its nature simply be gone. However, it can be very contained, and there are a number of reasons why this might be, and they boil down to either it is containing itself by choice, or it has been contained through artificial means by previous people who have lived there. If it is containing itself by choice, there are a couple of possibilities for why this would be. The first is that something traumatic has happened in this area, which has caused the spirit to withdraw its energies. And, a person who is skilled in energy work can pull their energy in so tight that you cannot see them even if you're looking straight at them, because their energy signal will not be apparent. And the genius Loci can certainly do as much. And so if it were to completely withdraw its energy into itself, you would probably not be able to tell it was there, because it did not want to be seen. And it could have done this because of a traumatic incident. However, that doesn't necessarily mean something traumatic to the people who live there, because there are many locations where traumatic things have happened to people, but the genius Loci is still very much present. It would be something that was traumatic to the spirit. Or it may have noticed that people who previously lived there were afraid of it, and it may think it's being polite by not making its presence known and not allowing people to connect with it. So these are two reasons why it may have contained itself. Now, the other possibility is that it has been contained, and people can contain this kind of energy, though it's a high-level working, and it's not really that easy a thing to do. And I can only think of one reason why a person would contain this kind of energy, and that is because they were afraid of it. They may have had a reason to be afraid of it, or they may have been unreasonably afraid of it. There are some people who are trained to be afraid of any kind of spiritual energy, no matter how good or bad it may be. And the mere fact that they knew that there was an energy signature there may have been enough for them to try to contain it. However, they may also have had a good reason to be afraid of it. And the genius Loci, the energy of the place, can be influenced by things that happen in that place. I believe all spirits start out as good, and in their inner nature are good, but we're all on a journey. And some places in that journey are not as good. And it may be that your genius Loci is at such a place. It may be that it may have been scarred by events that happened there that caused it to take on a negative charge from the emotions of people who were there. Or maybe it was just not that positive a spirit, and the people who were there felt they needed to contain it. In either event, I would say leave it alone, because unless you know why they contained it, I think I would have to assume that they may have had a good reason. They may not have, but if you don't know, I wouldn't go about just trying to open it up. Now, another possibility is that rather than containing it by force, they may have made an arrangement with it. They may have said, in effect, you don't talk to us, we won't talk to you, we'll all be happy. And it could simply be still observing that arrangement. And don't assume that the genius Loci can tell one human from another. Most of them can, but to some extent I suspect we all look alike to them. Because however different we may seem to each other, we're much more different from the genius Loci than we ever will be from each other. And it may not know that you're even a different person. So if it has done this as part of an agreement, it may simply be politely abiding by that agreement. If, however, it was bound, I would not try to do anything with that unless you can find out why. How would you find out why? Well, if you could talk to the people who did it, if you could figure out who they were, and if they were willing to admit it, it would give you a clue. However, you have to bear in mind that people who are afraid of energy will sometimes blow up very innocent incidents and think of them as very negative. And a famous example of this is The Exorcist. The Exorcist movie was famously based on a true story, but if you actually find out what that true story was, it was a fairly minor poltergeist incident, not at all how the people reacted to it. And so you might want to take with a grain of salt what they said, but you certainly would want to listen. Having said that, if you could not find those people, and I'll virtually guarantee you cannot, the next best thing I could think of is try to contact some of the other local genius loci and see if they know what happened, if you can connect with them. And I'm assuming that if you're asking this question, that you do this kind of work and that you can connect with the genius loci, and that it will give you information. And so the genius loci who are nearby may know exactly what's going on, and they might be willing to tell you. And then you might or might not want to do something. But unless you're a high-level worker and you actually know what you're doing, I would leave well enough alone. But these are some of the reasons why this might have happened. So I hope that answers your question and gives you something to think about, and until next time, may you blessed be. Today's vlog is brought to us by the term libation.
Libation. A libation is a drink offering made to a deity or spirit. The most universal example is the pouring of a small amount of liquid directly on the earth. Another famous example is the breaking of a champagne bottle on the bow of a ship for her maiden voyage. This is an offering to the spirit of the ship, personified as female, in the hopes of safe and successful future voyages. Libations were one of the most popular forms of offering in the ancient world, and their use is richly attested to in classical literature. Libations are made as a sign of respect to the spirit, and out of desire to share and give back to the source, rather than as an offering of sustenance to spirit.